Okay, disclaimer, this video is for the older audience in the fandom, not that I think the younger part of the fandom would be interested in this type of video, but just in case. Alright, thank you! So, a few weeks ago, I jumped into my community page and asked everybody what art video I should do next, and I got a tiny, itty-bitty feeling that you all wanted to see me humanize the Ninjago crew. Just a wild guess though, a complete shot in the dark. So I've honestly been drawing these characters as humans for a while, but the reason I'm making this video is because I've never given myself set examples of how I should draw them. I've drawn busts of them, and you'll see my Cole one in a few minutes, but I keep flip-flopping between designs. Like, there's a complete difference between how I originally imagined redesign Cole to how I eventually started drawing his hair for some reason. So I need to give myself a set reference sheet, which is what I'm doing here. Also, if you didn't know, just a little fun fact, the characters in Ninjago aren't actually Lego people. Well, they are to us, but they just look like normal people to each other. Anyways, originally I'd wanted to do these in batches, like pair 2 characters up, post a video, work on the next 2, but I wanted to get at least the footage for this video done before I went on my Texas trip, so that just means everybody else is gonna get paired up. Except for Cole and Lloyd. Cole drew the short end of the stick by being my first choice, and I just know I'm gonna have to work on Lloyd a lot since he keeps getting crap given to him and he keeps like glowing. He's gonna be a lot to work with. Now, here are some notes before we start. This video is going to be split into parts. The first one being me humanizing his pre-redesign stuff, the second part being his redesign, and the third being centered on me actually drawing him. You know, like lining and rendering on all that. Next, vocab time. You're probably going to hear me throw around the words canon and headcanon a lot, so I thought I'd describe what they mean in case you don't know. Canon describes an event that has happened within a story. As an example, it's canon that Cole was a ghost. But what isn't canon is that he still has a fear of water even after turning human again. That is my personal take on his character, or my headcanon. A headcanon is just a bit of characterization or world building that the author hasn't established in canon, but a fan may come up with on their own. Honestly, headcanon lists are really fun to make and read through, and that's technically what this video is. Next! Just, a warning? These humanizations are going to be based on my own headcanons on the ninja, and after seeing how people react to some My Little Pony humanizations and my last video on Cole, this is just a warning about to share my own personal opinion on things. So if you don't rock with somebody's headcanon being different from your own, this isn't the video for you. Alright, now that that's out of the way, I hope you enjoy watching my design process. Let's start off with a speedrun of my timeline headcanons just so his age stuff makes sense, because he looks pretty young in this drawing. In my mind, the pilots to season 7 takes place over the span of 4 years. Season 1 taking place half a year after the pilots, and season 2 following not that long after. Season 1 and 2 take place over the course of a year. Season 3 takes place a year later, season 4 takes place half a year after that, and then seasons 4 to 7 happen within the same year. They were busy, okay? While there's a debate on how old the ninja are when they started, I've personally landed on 15 for Cole. I feel like they were originally supposed to be a bit older when this era of episodes aired, but things have obviously changed, and I needed to find a way to work with the fact that Kai called himself a teenager and hunted. So that means, throughout the original series, I personally headcanon Cole as being 15 to 19, aka the second oldest of the group. The oldest being Zane for obvious reasons. Definitely headcanon him as the bulkiest of the ninja, even if he's a little scrawny here, but he is 15, so what do you expect? But I don't headcanon him as the tallest. Again, Zane has him beat at that. Obviously, I don't think he'd look exactly like this throughout every season. I feel like his hair probably would grow out, he'd grow taller, but his aged up design is for the next part, and we'll get to it when we get to it. Onto some other headcanons. I personally like to imagine Cole as being South Asian. I don't have any specific race headcanons for the ninja, the only exception being Kai, Nia, and maybe Lloyd. And the only reason I've solid Kai and Nia headcanons is because I like to project onto my favorite characters and made them half Filipino like me. Anyways, my point is I might come up with the specifics someday, but until then, I'm just giving the general idea of where I imagine his family is from. Now that we've got the basics wrapped up, let's talk about some face stuff. I took some time to try and interpret different points in Cole's life, like when Scales hypnotized him, when he was hit with the dark matter, when he turned into a ghost, and when he had the giant rift in his head. I also like to imagine that one of his eyes turned green while the rift was lodged in there, and that's mostly to correlate with another headcanon later on. There's not really that much to say about this bit, I kind of just thought it'd be fun. Before we move on, I also drew him in some of the older geese because I had thought about adapting all of his gis into humanoid looks, but quickly got tired of it, so you only get some sketches of his training, Dragon Extreme, ZX, and Kimono gis. They were a little slanted because I saved them before I noticed the way my sketch was leaning, but don't worry about it! More headcanons! So personally, I like to think season 8 to 16 takes place from the span of 3 to 4-ish years. Other than Kai's little line, they haven't said anything too incriminating about ages, so I haven't stressed out about it as much as I have with the last era. Season 8 canonically takes place a year after season 7, season 9 takes place a year later. There seems to be a gap between seasons 9 and 10. I'd say at most it's been half a year and at least 2 months. I haven't really sat down and really paid attention to time stuff for that season in a hot minute, by the way, so take my headcanon with a grain of salt. And then the 11-minute era takes place half a year to a whole year later. The seasons up until Crystallize seem to take place basically one after another with little gaps in between. And then, of course, Crystallize takes place exactly 1 year after Seabound. So Cole is 20 to 23, 24-ish. But Mika, what about Kai's line about them being teenagers and hunted? Shut up! Shut up! He was only talking to Jay when he said that. He could have just been referring to them. Or at least that's what's been keeping me sane. Anyways, I haven't really thought about Dragons Rising. I headcanon that the merge happens 2 years after Crystallized, and then the season starts up 3 years after the merge. So 5 years in total, so that makes Cole 28 to 29-ish, which is weird but also makes sense. Anyways, enough about ages. That's not the point of this video. Tommy Andreasen has a short story about how Cole got the rift out of his head, and while it does still appear whenever it reacts to his powers, I like to think it left a scar on his face. His heterochromia left, though. Also, I know the drift didn't go through his eye in canon, but I completely forgot this when I was drawing him. I've seen so many pieces of fan art where the rift goes through it, and I just went, yeah, that seems right, and went with it, I guess. His hair is shaggier than it was before, but that's just me following canon. I was gonna do some humanizations of the movie versions of them, but that would just end up being younger Cole with older Cole's hair, so like there wasn't really much of a point. And also, just like a little side note, I kind of do like the redesigns. Like, obviously I miss the old looks, but it gives them more personality, I guess. But this video isn't about that. I just wanted to let you all know my stance on them. Again, I drew some face alternatives, but the changes aren't as drastic as last time. I have a version where his lava arms are activated, and look, his heterochromia is back. That's where the headcanon comes back in. And then I also have a version where his eyes are glowing during Spinjitzu Burst. I contemplated either making just his iris glow or his whole eye, like sclera and all, but then I thought about how everybody else had a scene where their eyes glowed and realized how evil Kai would look with completely red eyes. So I made his eyes look more Lego-y, if that makes sense. I don't know. I might change it later on, and if I do, I'll give you an update later. Until next time, we'll see. I also forgot to add a version where his eyes glow for Rising Dragon, since I'd like to think that they react different, but I forgot, and I could just blame the fact that he hasn't learned it yet. I also just actively chose not to draw him with the Scroll of Forbidden Spinjitzu, because I interpret the flames that appear at the top of their head being their actual hair being like set on fire basically, but not really. Like, the fire can't hurt them, but like their hair rises and then the flames, you know, you get what I mean. And I just didn't feel like drawing floating hair, so sorry, I don't feel like it. Maybe next video. Maybe I'll do some touch-ups on Cole in the next video. Who knows? God, I rambled on for so long in that section. I hope I didn't have to slow down the speed paint because of it. Don't worry about the quality of the video. I accidentally recorded the first bit through my desktop setting on OBS instead of my tablet setting, and it came out really crunchy, but it gets better, I swear. So, fun fact, I felt bad for not lining these references. Like, these are just sketches with really messy coloring. So you get a completed drawing as an apology. I drew this the day before I left for Texas. Dude, I was speedrunning this. I wanted all my footage done. But look, here's me interpreting his lava arms. Isn't that fun? Anyways, there really isn't that much to say about this one. I haven't drawn his lava arms before, so this was fun to mess around with. I contemplated also drawing a younger Cole with his lava arms, but decided that'd be too much work. So you're only getting this version of him. More notes. He's very clearly bulkier and taller than before. but that's sort of a given now that he's older. Still not taller than Zayn though. That's just... I have a reason for that in my head, but I'll get to that when it's time for Zayn to be designed. What else can I talk about to fill the time? Headcanons that aren't related to the drawing at all? Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I mentioned this before, I like the headcanon that Cole is still a bit afraid of water, and him sitting out during Seabound kind of helps support that? I don't know, it's just a personal thing. Him and Kai need to deal with their fears a little bit, but I don't know, it's just a personal little headcanon I like to imagine, because like, there's no way he'd be able to get over a fear of water that quickly. Anyways, that's just my little thing. I'm not going to dwell on it too long. It's not much. It's just a small little thing I like to imagine. So if you couldn't tell from the way I talk, I mostly hang around the Tumblr side of the fandom. Sometimes Instagram, not really. So I have no idea if this has reached outside of those parameters or not, but I like to headcanon that Cole's last name is Brookstone. I also like to think that Ray, Maya, Lily, and maybe Lou set up little playdates between Cole, Kai, and Mia before Crux came around and like screwed everything up. It's just a little cute little thing. Like, they don't know that they've actually met before now, and maybe they realize that they have in fact met before when like going through an old photo album of Ray and Maya's or of Lou's and Lily's. And God, what else can I talk about to fill the time? I think you might just have to stare at him in silence. I'm drawing blanks on all my Cole headcanons. Yeah. And that's it! Here's my finished rendered drawing of Cole, and you can of course find a link to it in the description below. Do you know what else you can find in the description? My social links and Etsy shop. You should go check them out. Not that I'm forcing you or anything. I realize how like harsh I said you should check them out. That's it. It's your choice. Anyways, before we go, I just want to say thank you for 2,000 subscribers. I already made a community post about it, but I just wanted to say it here too. It's not a big number, but if 11-year-old Mika heard I had 2,000 subscribers that were all watching me talk about Lego Ninjago, he wouldn't have been able to like contain his excitement. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Do you guys have any headcanons about Cole? Doesn't have to relate to humanization, but also could. Maybe you have headcanons about some hobbies he may have picked up, about his dynamics with the other ninja. I'd love to see what you guys have to say about him. Please consider liking and subscribing. I make art and commentary videos, and your support would mean the world to me. I'll see you next time. Bye!